All righty. Hello, everybody. My name is Layla Shaver. Today is March 19th. I am joined today by Forrest Houghton, who is the owner of Bitsy Advisor. Uh, Forrest, welcome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, thanks, Layla. Glad to do it.
So, Forrest, why don't you start with giving us a little bit more information, giving us a little history about you and how you got started in our industry?
Yeah, so great question. I'm based in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I started right out of college. I started in sales just at Northwestern Mutual. I was there for 2 years, and I learned just hustle, getting out there. And but I figured pretty quickly that I didn't want to do insurance forever, and so I joined a small RIA firm based here in town, and that's where I learned the fee-based planning model, as well as even more so some of the heightened compliance that goes along with enrolling clients and managing the day-to-day to stock trading to everything that goes along with just doing the holistic planning. And so I left there after 2 years because that firm was more focused on retirees, and me being 26 at the time it wasn't very easy to be relevant to 55-year-old plus. So my boss was very gracious to help me get started, and I started my own firm, Brittany Wealth, and I built that over 6 years. And towards the end of that, we built this Bitsy Advisor platform. We originally built it just for ourselves to streamline everything that it takes to fully and compliantly enroll new clients. And we had so much interest from other advisors to make it a licensable product that we decided to sell my practice and make this a licensable product. We just came out of beta with a few testers, my old boss being one of them. And we've just launched within the last couple of weeks and are quickly gathering momentum.
That's amazing.
That answer your
Um,
question?
yeah, no, totally answered the question. So it sounds like this was really born out of necessity, and it ended up being so awesome and helped you guys so much that you decided to share it with everyone. Is that right?
Yeah. So one of the problems that we face is whenever we interact with a new prospect, from minute one until that prospect says, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Advisor, you're hired, that creates a lot of positive momentum, relationship momentum. And so what happens is that momentum can quickly dissipate, if not fade altogether, once we have to go through everything that we have to go through to bring them on board. And so one of the questions I typically ask advisors as I'm showing them this platform is how long it takes to do everything required to compliantly and fully enroll somebody. And that's gathering data, it's inputting data, it's building and executing an advisory agreement, it's determining suitability, it's building an investor policy statement, it's updating your CRM, it's delivering disclosures, it's opening accounts, and the right ones at that, without a mountain of paperwork. And you have to track it all for compliance and make sure you did it correctly. There's just too many touch points, and invariably mistakes are made. And so I typically ask people, how long does that take? And some of the responses I get are, well, how long is everybody else saying? And even the best firms are telling me that it takes them at least an hour. And that's if it's a straight line, if you've got the client with you. And we live in this digital world now where clients just aren't giving us the time to come in and meet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They have expectations, or they want it, their way or the highway. And so what we've built is a system that meets clients where they are, accomplishes tasks without error, and does everything in about 4 minutes, so that you can take a required process that we all have to do that typically takes even the best firms 60 minutes. And I've even found more like 120, down to 4 minutes. And so that's why we're suggesting this going 30x faster, is getting something done that's often a headache, that's mundane, that is redundant, and is a low profit activity, frankly. That your employees, your team should be focused on generating more profit rich revenue. And that's by entertaining clients, that's client development, that's COI development, that's being with people and fighting to see people. And what this platform does is it gives you more freedom and time to do that.
So I'm still stuck on the fact that you just said you're taking a process that takes some companies on the fast end an hour, on maybe the slower end up to 2 hours, and you're telling me your platform does it in 4 minutes.
Correct. That's the fast way, and more often than not, the way that somebody's going to experience it. Because it's very unlikely that an advisor will meet with a prospect and meeting one without much information, without going through a plan, without really getting details on that prospect, that they say you're hired. And so the long version of, if that were to happen, where you have to input all this information on the front end, would be about 7 to 8 minutes. But more than likely, because prospects are already in our CRM, they've filled out some information, we've done a plan, we have a lot of the information we need to open an account. And so what the Bitsy Advisor platform will do is it connects with your CRM. And whenever that prospect says, okay, you're hired, you simply invite the client, and much of the information is auto-populated into our fields. Removes any of the redundancies. And in the background, everything else happens. CRM's updated, the contract is built seamlessly, the IPS is built, suitability is determined if you've got a connection with Riskalyze, or you can use our default quiz and determine suitability right then and there.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So it's everything's connected. You know, we kind of joke that this is one app to rule them all. You know, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, and so that's what we built, was just interact with one thing. And that was always one of my biggest headaches as a practitioner for years was, man, there's so many tools out there. What's the best? These are just more expenses. I just want one thing that's really simple to interact with, that talks with everything else, that doesn't make mistakes, that improves my compliance, that does a lot of the stuff I don't want to do. You know, where is that? And I couldn't find it, so we built it.
That's awesome. Well, listen, on that note, let's take a look at this platform.
All right. So this is the back-end view. This is what an advisor or firm admin would see in the dashboard. And this is just our test account.
Okay.
But it's very customizable. And so we show a few baseline metrics, minimum assets gathered, and this number will vary based on what the firm sets their fee breakdown as. This shows the hours gained. And so this is an estimate against enrollment taking about an hour that we've already discussed. And for just to make it a baseline metric, we try to aim high. We set this at 7 minutes. So if you're doing it in 4 and you bring on 200 clients a year, then you're making 3 minutes every, that's another what's the math there? 600 minutes, 10 hours. So this also shows you new clients enrolled. And so you can pick out your clients right here. Click on them, see their baseline metrics. You can quickly edit and amend a contract. And so I'm just going to walk you through very quickly how the module works. So I'll put in a email, and I've done this several times. So I'm just going to put in a random number, add client, inputting, we'll just do John Smith, something simple. If there's a second investor, legal, you can set preferred name. Google auto-populates some things for me. Financial information. This is asking income range, net worth. This is all about know your client. And these questions are customizable so that if a firm says, well, we asked these questions, we'd like this question, we don't need that question, then that's totally up to them. So asking about qualified and non-qualified. Residence value. When do you plan to retire? I don't ever plan on retiring, but I'd like to have enough to live off of and leave to my heirs. So this is experience, asking the investor. A lot of times what we see is advisors will be doing this with clients in the room, and their support staff is filling this out. It just makes it faster. So I've had 20 plus years, let's say ETFs for 5, and you can add as many or as little as you want, take them away, make it really simple. So let's just say Dion, Discretionary, then it would default to whatever firm, is using for their, or whatever custodian that firm is using.
Mm-hmm.
It automatically pre-fills the custodian identity within the contract. Or if you're just advising and those assets are held away and you're getting a fee, then you just input wherever it is, and that information seamlessly gets put into the contract so that you're not having to go back and forth with data entry, which invariably causes mistakes. So if you've got the Riskalyze integration, then it's a simple matter of their risk score would naturally appear here. Okay. And based on whatever accounts they want. So if they don't, and you're just using our default, you can segregate it by account. And we're making this a little bit more robust with, rollover IRA, just designating each account specifically. But for our purposes, I'll just bypass. And so, sorry, this is a 7-question quiz. It's basically based on Schwab, and it just calculates right then and there what that person is. So let's just say I'm moderate and in my brokerage account, because I use that more often than my retirement account, but I've got a long time. So we'll just speculate in my retirement account. Disclosures. So if you've got a 10 advisor firm, then whatever advisor they selected above, the ADV 2B will naturally automatically pre-populate here so that you're never worried about missing a disclosure delivery, and it timestamps it just from a compliance standpoint.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if a customer tries to go forward, if they're, tech savvy and you send them some of this stuff, they can't go forward unless they accept. So then you continue, you can review and send it. So they would receive an email that said, hey, Forrest Tootin sent you documents to review and sign with my firm and everything. And then it simply, operates like a DocuSign where they click it, sign, and then it's done and they're onboarded. Or if they're right there in the room with you, you can sign them. So all the information is pre-populated. Fee base, minimum account value, hourly rates that are automatically in there. You can tab, receipt of form ADV 2B, 2A, signature. You can read all this stuff. Most people don't. You have to hit the check mark. You can hit next. See the IPS has already been built with all the tax brackets, fees, everything that's been in there, qualified, non-qual, retirement account, brokerage account with risk profile and suitability already built in, experience, sign, and you can hit next. We just have our test custodian, but if you selected whatever custodian, it would naturally fill here. Then submit, welcome, and then you can see I was just created immediately. See all my information, see a copy of the contract right here.
Oh,
executed.
wow, that's awesome.
And for whatever reason, if a mistake was made, you can simply hit edit and then change any of these numbers, any of these variables. Say, no, I'm actually conservative, and then hit save changes only, and don't, then it's updated automatically. But if you want to change something because suitability has changed, then you can change it right then and there, send it to them, and then it's done. If you were using DocuSign, you have to redo the entire contract. You'll notice that here, so I'm just using Redtail, that's our test account. And I've done myself several times, but you can see right here at the bottom, I believe that's the one, yep, created 3 minutes ago. Pertinent details are automatically filled in my CRM.
That's amazing.
And let's see here if this has already come through or not. It's typically, yep. So it happens in a minute or two, but the client, the advisor, and the firm admin simultaneously receive an email with, firm ABC, whatever. Thanks for joining. They can customize this message however they want. The client receives a copy of that contract as well as disclosure delivery. So we've at least double proofed, if not triple proofed delivery. And so that's another little feature, a timestamp for executed contract and disclosure delivery so that you're always in compliance. One of the other things that we're focused on is, because I got audited several times, and my last audit is, Layla, I was missing a couple contracts.
Yeah.
And so I was freaking out about it, and you did a good job and helped me feel better. But this ensures that never happens, that a few line items on your audit list are bulletproof. And so one feature that we're coming out with pretty soon is a compress all feature, because that's one of the line items is send us all of your contracts, at least for smaller firms. I don't know how the bigger firms do it. We were only in the $10 million range in assets under management at the height of my practice, but that's kind of where I wanted to be. But you can segregate, whoever, maybe in an audit, it's give us anybody with the name Phillips or Shaver, whatever, it's in there. It's easy to access everything. And with the TD Ameritrade functionality, the bulk of the paperwork for whatever accounts you designated have already been pre-filled. And the DocuSign is waiting on, social security numbers, some of the more pertinent details we're not going to get into just for security measures. But most of the work has been done. And all of the work on some parts of our process are fully done, so that advisors can be with people and fight to see more people rather than spending their time on low profit activities.
So you're telling me that this actually speeds up the DocuSign and custodial process. So it's working hand in hand with the custodian versus being a replacement.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yep. So it just shortens the process. So we've been meeting with a firm that they've got 13 advisors, $500 million. They bring on about 500 clients a year, and even they're with LPL and they use DocuSign. And at first he was like, "Are you trying to replace DocuSign?" I was like, "Not completely. DocuSign does one or two parts of the process. We do all of it." But they're bringing on at least 500 clients a year and they're spending an hour. And so with our module, even though we don't integrate with LPL yet, that's kind of the holy grail integration, an advisor can still thrive even if we don't complete that account paperwork part. And that's going to come with time. We're working on Schwab and Fidelity right now. We've got TDA. We would love a place like LPL. So even if you're a broker dealer, you still have access to this platform. But we were going to save them about 40 minutes every time. And so with how many clients they're bringing on, that's what, 20,000 minutes. Is my math? 40 times 500. Yeah. 20,000 minutes divided by 60. That's 333 hours. And so their business cost, even if it's a minimum of $200 an hour, just with how big of the firm they're running, that's $67,000 that we're going to save them in wasted admin cost. And our platform doesn't even cost a fraction of that.
Wow. So basically, anyone from the solo practitioner who's wearing all the hats, they would benefit from this, all the way through, the larger, even multi-billion-dollar firms where
Absolutely.
they're considering hiring more and more admin people to process the paperwork. They can instead get away with a couple who can utilize the software and really streamline the process. So you could potentially be saving a firm hundreds of thousands of dollars with this.
Yep. And bulletproofing some of their compliance along the way, just in the background. But as well, that's the beauty of it, is for the solo practitioner that might be a little bit more cost conscious, that would rather have one tool that works 10 times better rather than, 10 different tools that he's got to kind of piecemeal together, is that you can use our default build and make it feel like it was customized to you. But then on the flip side, for a bigger firm that has more capital to outlay for something like this, we can build an even more customizable solution to really flow with how they run their practice now, so that we're only making a minor tweak, but we're making a major difference.
That's amazing. Now, what happens if I'm at a firm, I'm utilizing the software at the firm, and then, I'm taking my book and I'm going independent or joining another firm? What happens to all of the client information that I've inputted in your system?
So client information is stored securely. That's our number one biggest thing. I mean, we don't play around with data breach. We're not interested in the cost that comes with it. But it seamlessly transfers. It's a matter of downloading those contracts and pulling them over, assuming the firm lets them go and there's not a non-compete and everything like that. But it's super easy to move it over. It happens in a matter of seconds.
So this would actually be pretty useful too, even from a protocol perspective. being able to take certain information, or if, you know, again, if you're not subject to a non-compete or non-solicit, that you could just essentially move your account over.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, and we hate to talk about it, but I like to be upfront. You know, if somebody just ever says, "Hey, Bitsy's just not working for us," or "We're going to go a different direction," it's really easy to offboard as well. It's just a matter of downloading all those contracts, and then your compliance is still whole. You know, there won't be any gap during that transition time.
That's amazing. And essentially, too, you already have all their information. So in terms of repapering the contract for the new firm, I mean, it really takes, I mean, if you're doing this in 4 minutes and you're repapering in what, 60 seconds?
Yeah, if even. You know,
Oh
that's where that edit feature is fun. It's just a matter of coming in here and changing some of the basic baseline information. And then you can save and send. They get an email, save and sign if they're with you, or just save changes only if something in suitability hasn't changed. And then it's done.
So I noticed that you guys kind of have a form already kind of in the software. Can a firm use their own documents? I mean, is this customizable?
Yes, it is. So that's where we would typically just charge our developers hourly fee to input it. You know, we're not going to add any cost on top of that. But if a firm says, "Hey, we're pretty particular about using our forms that we've already paid a lot of money for," then it's pretty easy for us to input them and format them correctly. I mean, you're looking at minimal cost upfront to get going.
So we talked a lot about financial advisors, you know, and falling within that, you know, the subset of financial planners, you know, people providing fixed fee or like subscription-based services. They could all take advantage of this service. But what about your private fund managers, your hedge funds that have subscription documents? I mean, I know a lot of private fund owners that are still pushing paper, and it's still a very manual process. I mean, is this something they could utilize?
Well, that's something that you brought to my attention. That's why I have you in my life, is to make me better, and like you're making everybody else better. So yeah, absolutely. That would be, that's the beauty of this, is we built this open architecture platform that anybody can come in and use it off the street minute one. You know, we built it to be unbelievably fast, but a user can also highly customize it to make it more of their own. So we're trying to accomplish and serve everybody's needs and do so very, very quickly. You know, I'm a big racing fan. I follow Formula One, and the faster we can go, the better. That, you know, waste less time, make more money. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, that's definitely something that I can say a big amen to. So amen, especially
Yes.
now, you know, with coronavirus happening, people falling ill, many companies are having employees and staff go home and work remote. You know, I was speaking with a client yesterday. One of his administrative people was self-quarantining at home because her daughter came into direct contact with a friend who has tested positive for coronavirus. And I know there are many people that are listening that have children at home while they're trying to work remotely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to have, you know, a platform like this that can take a process that's, you know, anywhere from 1 hour to a couple hours down to 4 minutes or less, I mean, that's amazing. That will definitely be a game changer.
Oh yeah. Well, and you know, like you and I have talked about, we live in a digital world now, and though the relationship is vastly important for what we do, it can still be leveraged with technology. And so advisors, whether they're using this solution or not, should be incorporating technology into their practice more and more, and should be using video conferencing and phone calls more so than in-person meetings. It's just a lot faster. It's a lot more efficient. You get more done. And so having something like this, you can ensure that you can enroll a new client without ever having to see him if that's your preference. or having to go through the paperwork or anything like that. It's just done quick and can be done anywhere in the world.
Well, I mean, I have advisors ask me all the time too, especially those who focus a lot on retirement planning. Their concerns about keeping those assets at the firm and convincing the next generation, the adult kids, the grandkids, to keep those assets with the advisor. Well, I mean, I know as someone in her 30s, I'm not interested in driving, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour to somebody's office to sit there and have a meeting and then have to drive back that same amount of time. So I would personally much prefer to, have a conversation over the phone, have someone send me a copy of the contract to review, or even have me input some of this information myself, and get it done that way. And I think this is what's going to help advisors keep assets at their firm, because this is what the younger generations want. They're all on social media, they're all on the internet, and that's how they communicate. So having an online platform like this to streamline that and do e-signature, despite what's even going on from this pandemic perspective, I mean, this is kind of like the next frontier.
Well, that's what advisors get. I was always that kid who knew how to fix things. And so my parents and friends and were like, hey, can you, fix this technology for me? And I was always interested in, what was new and what was available. And so we built this solution to be the future. Advisors are seriously behind in the technology that they use, even if they're using current solutions now. And that was always another headache of mine as a practitioner, was I couldn't stand getting phone calls trying to be sold something that had a learning curve. We built this to be something that our peers could use, that's friendly, that operates much like e-commerce, because Amazon has taken over the world, and we want it to feel familiar in that regard, is that it's almost like checking out. You're just putting in your pertinent information and everything else is done. That's the experience we should be giving clients, is much like making a purchase. I mean, it's on our website. We took a lesson from e-commerce, and that's what people should feel. That's what the younger generation demands, and advisors who don't use tech are going to fall behind. I mean, that's what Apple did with photo sharing, is they made it attractive to the younger generation. And if grandparents and parents wanted to stay relevant, they just had to learn it. They just had to. And so that's the same thing, is, you're just going to have to use technology to make your practice better, save time, and make a lot more money.
Yeah, this is amazing what you've built for us. I have looked at a lot of technology, and you're right, something robust like Salesforce, there is a learning curve to figuring it out. And I have found that there's a higher kind of risk of errors because it is such a robust solution. So having something like this that's so simple and easy, and it's just visually, it's really kind of easy to follow. And then, if it's then integrating with your CRM, it's really taking out that potential for error, because the CRM, maybe something like Salesforce that is super robust. I mean, even Redtail takes a little bit to kind of figure out where everything goes and how to input and how to use. So, I mean, this is super straightforward. I mean, you're not spending a lot of time having to do explanations on how to utilize it, or, wasting a lot of advisor time either onboarding this application.
No, it's a good point. Thanks for saying that. I just built what I wanted, and as a peer, that's what I want to deliver to all the advisors out there, because we're all pretty similar in just our, makeup and who we are as people and what we're trying to accomplish. Our job is to solidify and improve people's financial situation, while we also do that for ourselves. And so some people use this, they may not be onboarding a lot of clients, but they're just like, man, I just want more time.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that happened with Kobe and, stuff going on. I just want more time with my family. That's what this does. Or I want my time, I want time for my staff to have with the family, or because of this, we can take Fridays off without worrying about it.
Yeah.
So you can use it however you want. And it's really simple. I wanted something that plug it in and play right away.
No, so. I love it. I love it. So if someone's really interested in getting the software, how do they get in contact with you? How do they onboard it?
So we tried to make it pretty simple. It's just a matter of going to our website and, booking a meeting or getting a price. And so those are some of the things that advisors should be doing on their website now is, book a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we're coming out with, which I'm pretty excited about, is a pre-meeting module where it will ask new prospects, advisors can put it in their LinkedIn, their email. It will ask new prospects a dynamic questionnaire. And so it'll go through a question flow based on their interest level. So if they're not really interested, then it only asks them, 4 or 5 psychological questions that also gives a playbook to the advisor on how to sell that person. But if they're really interested, then it inputs all of their information, seamlessly loads into their CRM so that they never have to use the CRM. And when that prospect says, hey, you're hired, it's a matter of inviting the client. Much of what we just walked through is already done. So it's even faster. So those are some of the technological tools that are coming down the line. But all that to say, I know that was a rabbit hole. I apologize. But advisors can just go to book a demo or to get a price, in which we take them through a quiz. And there's psychological perspective behind why you do that. One, it qualifies if, what I'm getting into, how much customizations could be required, and what kind of time I want to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they submit, we receive an email, and then we send a Calendly invite. And so these are some of the things advisors should be doing as well, is not going back and forth on an email, hey, when can you meet? Or a phone call. It's like, put your Calendly out there, set the parameters for when you're willing to meet, and then let the client decide on their schedule. It's all about giving that client control, making them the hero of the story. That's part of what we're doing with our business model, is making advisors the hero of the story. That's why we're seeing demand and traction. So it's just a matter of reaching out, booking a demo, and they can give us their ADVs and advisory contracts, and we can upload them for them, or they can just plug in and go. It's pretty simple.
That's awesome.
That was a really long answer. I apologize.
No, the point is they can go to Bitsy Advisor website, which, can you give us that website handle one more time?
Yeah, bitsyadvisor.com.
And Bitsy is B as in boy, ITS as in Sam, Y, advisor with an O, not an E.
Yes.
.com, bitsyadvisor.com. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, I, for one, am thankful that you've brought this platform to my attention. I'm glad that I get to share it with my RA Lawyers network of advisors and clients. And I encourage all of you to, at a minimum, have a conversation with Forrest, especially since you guys can upload your own documents, and the team at Bitsy Advisor will customize a platform to fit it. And then you can also white label it for their logo too, right? For their branding.
Absolutely. So that's where the settings tab comes. You can change this logo to anything. Put in your min max fee, set a client password so that whenever you hit review and send, only that client can access it. It's just more security measures. But yeah, everything is customizable. We built parameters in here to protect the firm, to know their customer, to always be compliant, to go fast. I want to go fast, like Ricky Bobby. I want to go fast.
That was a good movie. Good movie.
Yes. But yeah, thank you for all you're doing as well, for getting everything out there and being really helpful to advisors out there. You're building a great platform, and I'm excited about the things you're helping me do. So
I appreciate it. I'm glad that there's service providers like you. So guys, don't forget bitsyadvisor.com to schedule your demo or request pricing. Get with Forrest on current pricing. I'm not going to have him quote a price now because This is being recorded, and I don't want you guys to get access to outdated information. So again, thank you so much, Forrest. We really appreciate it. Additional information about Bitsy Advisor is going to be on our website, and you can always find it on our RIA resources tab on the website. Thank you again, Forrest. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Layla. I appreciate it. And anybody that comes through you gets an immediate 20% discount. So there's that.
Oh, well, damn. You just kind of threw that in at the end there.
That's it.
That's
Sweeten
awesome,
the deal.
guys. 20% off. That's really generous. Thanks, Forrest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, excited to talk to whoever comes. And thank you, Layla. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? This is the day of giving, apparently, because I'm going to do you one better, Forrest. If you sign on with Forrest because you've seen this webinar, I am going to review your contracts for free to make sure that they're compliant and up to date, so that you and your team and Forrest and the team at Bitsy Advisor will be super comfortable that the contract's up to date and compliant. So there you go, 20% off.
Awesome.
Review your contract. So what the hell are you waiting for?
Come home.
I know. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. Again, any questions, give Forrest a shout. Visit the website, www.bitsyadvisor.com. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Layla. Bye.